I'm in shock, so please bear with me. A few weeks ago, my wife started acting weird and distant out of nowhere. She was getting irritated easily, and when I asked her what was going on, she said she was going through a deep wave of depression. I wanted to be supportive, so I planned a vacation for us to reconnect and hopefully give her a break from everything. Once we got on the trip, things only got worse. She was glued to her phone, barely paying attention to me or our surroundings, and her behavior was strange. I didn't think too much of it at first because I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe she really was struggling with her mental health. But by the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. Something felt off. I went through her messages and found out she was having an affair with her coworker. They had sex twice, both times in their office. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. We cut the trip short and came back home. I've since met with a lawyer and we're done. We don't have kids, pets, or assets to divide, so thankfully that part will be straightforward. What baffles me now the most is her complete lack of remorse. Her response to me finding out was, "People have affairs. Get over it." She's been cold and unbothered by the whole thing. And whenever I try to talk about it, she refuses and says she won't tolerate me bringing it up. She's just going about her normal routine as if nothing happened. I'm moving on with my life, but I can't help but wonder, how do cheaters like this live with themselves? Can they really go through life with such a brazen attitude, or do they eventually face the consequences emotionally, even if they don't show it? I know I shouldn't care about what she thinks or feels anymore, but part of me just wants to understand if people like her ever face their own guilt, or if they just move on like nothing happened. Update. My soon-to-be ex found out I've put a retainer on a lawyer, and she's been an emotional wreck ever since. She's moping around the house, crying constantly. The other day, I overheard her weeping on the phone with her AP, which was diabolical. It's strange because she was so unbothered and cold when I first confronted her, and now that reality's setting in, she's cowering in fear of her future. Both of our families know now, as well as our friends. I've made no effort to hide what's happened, and I'm relieved to have support from those close to me. It's been a weird mix of emotions, seeing her fall apart after being so dismissive about the affair at first. I can't tell if she's genuinely regretting what she's done, or if she's just panicking because she realizes this is really happening. Part of me wanted to forward the screenshots of their affair, including them having sex in the office, to her boss, just to expose her and him for what they did. But when I spoke to my lawyer, they advised against it. If she loses her job, it could impact the alimony I'd potentially owe her. It's frustrating because I feel like she's getting away with so much, but I know I have to play it smart and not act on impulse. Anyway, just wanted to update and let y'all know where things stand. Thanks for reading. Story 2. My 29 male, toxic ex-girlfriend, 28 female, is apparently pregnant. Not sure how to handle it. I've been kind of a lurker on Reddit for years, but I figure someone here might have some advice for me. I spent almost 4 years in a relationship with a woman who was emotionally abusive. I can't even remember what attracted me to her in the first place. She made me so miserable, especially by the end of our relationship. Anyway, about 6 weeks ago, we broke up. It was mostly initiated by her, but I didn't really care since I'd been planning to end the relationship anyway. A few days later, she texted me again about trying to be friends. My friends begged me not to, but I still loved her. I've kept in contact with her, which usually ends badly for me. She still had a hold over me that I was finding hard to break. She started to blame me for the end of our relationship and claimed that I was having an emotional affair at the end, and that's why we didn't work out. We had a massive disagreement a couple weeks ago, and I finally decided I needed to go no contact with her. I told her that we had attempted a relationship and attempted friendship, and it clearly wasn't working. Yesterday, she told me she was pregnant. Now, we used protection, but I suppose theoretically it's possible that she is in fact pregnant. However, my friends are suspicious of the timing. She waited until the night before a big exam to let me know, as well as 2 days after her sister saw me at lunch with a female friend. I've never wanted children, and she knows that, but she always made it clear that she was against abortion. Since I'm responsible for the situation, I'd help her raise a kid, but I would be miserable. A couple of my friends are convinced that she's not actually pregnant and is just hoping to get me back into a relationship. I honestly wouldn't put it past her, but she's not stupid, and she couldn't fake a pregnancy forever. I'm not even sure what's going on or how to handle it. Update. In a shocking twist that I'm sure will surprise no one, my girlfriend is not actually pregnant. Now, she hasn't gotten around to faking a miscarriage or anything of that level quite yet, but I'm sure it's coming since she doesn't know that I know. Last Friday, I was helping a very close friend move a new desk chair into her apartment when I ran into my ex's younger sister in the elevator. Apparently, she lives in the same apartment complex, and we decided to get some lunch since she said she wanted to talk to me. Of my ex's two sisters, I always got along with the younger one quite well, so I agreed. Just for a bit of context, I come from a tiny family. I have no cousins on my mother's side and like 2 on my father's side, neither of whom live in America. My father has a very close friend who's always been like an uncle to me, and he has a niece that lived with him on and off for years who's always been like family. So when she started going to school near me, he asked me to keep an eye on her in case she needed anything. She was who I was helping move. So anyway, sister and I were at lunch, and she started telling me all the things my ex has been spewing in the last few weeks. X has started seeing someone at work. Based on the timeline from sister, she started seeing him publicly right around the time we broke up. Timeline's a bit iffy, but it looks like she was cheating on me. B. X is telling people that our relationship ended because I was cheating. She also stressed that I'd broken up with her because I thought she was too old and was now sleeping with my friend. By the way, this friend is like barely legal, and I still consider her family, which she knows because I've introduced her to my ex when we were still dating as my cousin. C. She told both her sisters that she had told me she was pregnant because she wanted us to get back together because she was still in love with me, or at least my family's money. Those of you who predicted that her plan was to tell me she was pregnant to convince me to have unprotected sex and actually get her pregnant were correct. D. This one is my personal favorite, especially when you consider C. She claims I was really controlling about what she wore and what she ate because of my religion. My father's Muslim, except my father isn't religious. Also, my parents divorced when I was quite young, and I was raised, for the most part, by a Protestant mother. I eat pork, drink, smoke, and am okay with premarital sex. I don't even think I've seen the inside of a mosque, or even a church for that matter, so I'm not sure how this one makes any sense at all. E. Apparently, my ex's new thing since I'm no longer in contact with her is to just slander me to all our mutual friends or anyone who might know me, which is fantastic because that's exactly what I need. She also tried to get sister to let her use her phone to text me since I blocked her number, but sister refused on the grounds that I obviously didn't want to talk to her. Edit. I was trying to think of a good, really crazy story, and then I realized the casualness of her treatment of me was way crazier. I also think back on those moments and wonder how the hell I didn't see the giant red flags. I started seeing my ex around the fall of 2013, but I didn't meet her family until over a year later in the Christmas of 2014. We were both in school in the South, and she was from New England. And since we were both doing research during breaks, we didn't have a chance to go until then. Anyway, her mother's first words upon meeting me were, "At least he's not black." For most of my life, I was the half Middle East kid in the Deep South, so I've developed pretty thick skin against racists. I just kind of kept my mouth shut because I was in love, and who knows what I was thinking. My ex made a couple half-hearted attempts to get her to stop, but kind of gave up pretty fast. She served pork chops for dinner and mashed potatoes with bacon for dinner. When I served myself, she goes, "I thought your people didn't eat pork." At this point, I couldn't bite my tongue and went, "Who, Christians?" I was raised by my mother. She's a Christian. This was the point my ex intervened and kind of dragged her mother away, which was a blessing because I can take the racist comments, but I will not take any more insulting my mother. My ex was also very well aware of this fact. Her mother had insisted I stay with him for some reason, so when I came downstairs the next morning, I saw my ex showing her mother pictures of Thanksgiving at my mother's house and a weekend visit we'd made to my father's place. Her mother started asking what my parents did for a living. Now, my mother's family comes from money. My mother also works a job where she does very well for herself. My father also made quite a bit for himself in the U.S. This is something ex's mother was unaware of. What do you know? She stopped making racist comments, and if my ex's uncle said something, which they did pretty often, she would glare at him until they stopped. Anyway, that's the story of how I put up with casual racism by my ex's family for almost 3 years because I was kind of blind. Also, apparently, being wealthy makes up for being brown. Ex's mother also called me after we broke up to try and convince me to get together with her again. The emotional manipulation and lies are on a whole different level, and it's really telling that she tried to fake a pregnancy just to try to pull you back in. It's even more telling that she's willing to slander you to make herself look better. This behavior just reinforces how toxic the relationship truly was. I'm also glad that your ex's younger sister had your back and refused to get involved in her scheme. That kind of support can make a huge difference, especially when it feels like your ex is trying to turn everyone against you. It's so easy to get sucked back into the drama, especially with someone who clearly knows how to manipulate and play on emotions. But you did the right thing by going no contact. It's the only real way to protect yourself from the chaos she keeps trying to create. If she keeps spreading rumors, just remember that anyone who really knows you will see through her lies. You seem to have good friends and support around you, and they can help you ride through this until the dust settles. Eventually, her narrative will fall apart on its own. Stay strong and stay no contact. It's obvious that she's going to keep trying to pull you back in with drama, but as long as you keep those boundaries up, you'll be better off. You deserve peace after everything you've been through, and cutting her off is the best way to find that.